Namaste. One wonders what it is about the tale of Ramayana which fascinates writers to recount the well-known epic again and again. This world-renowned narrative has been retold in almost every language, culture and ethos. On the other hand, exceptional writers have demonstrated time and again that creativity is not limited to constructing new narratives, but in interpreting known ones in an ingenious way. This is exactly what the great Telugu writer Viswanatha Satyanarayana accomplished in Ramayana Kalpa Vrikshamu. He was already a recognized writer when he penned Ramayana Kalpa Vrikshamu, a monumental work of 6 volumes. His sheer command over Telugu language and its classical poetry, his remarkable power of expression, and his ability to envision every character of Ramayana in a unique way are factors whereby he could imbue this familiar epic with great vigor and force, imprinting it with his individual vision. Such works excite others to adapt them to different forms of creative expression, such as music and dance. The multiple nuances stacked within each line of poetry in Ramayana Kalpa Vrikshamu are both challenging and appealing at once. To set these verses to tune is a particularly demanding task, since the music composer who attempts to do so must necessarily be adept in classical Telugu language and the construct of its varied poetic meters called chandas. Moreover, the music composer must be one who savors good poetry in order to select appropriate ragas to suit the motifs and convey the emotions contained in the verses. It was fortuitous that just such a music composer, Srimati Vakkalanka Sarla Rao, was invited to create and present on stage key portions from Ramayana Kalpa Vrikshamu as a part of the celebrations held in New Delhi to felicitate poet Viswanatha Satyanarayana for receiving the prestigious Gyanpeeth Award for Literature and Poetry for his magnum opus Ramayana Kalpa Vrikshamu. For that stage presentation, composer Sarla Rao chose verses from Aranyakanda, the turning point in Ramayana when the abduction of Sita takes place. It was also fortuitous that her young teenage daughter, who was still a student of dance, played a small but important part in that stage production. In subsequent years, that teenager, that is myself, became a career dancer. Ramayana Kalpa Vrikshamu has continued to hold my fascination through the decades, bringing you my detailed analysis and Abhinaya demonstration of the anti-heroine Shurpanakha as described in the words of Kavi Samrat Viswanatha Satyanarayana and set to music by the multifaceted composer V. Sarla Rao.
What did Lakshmana do? He was the first to see her. He sees her and says, Lola Netra, one with the eyes. And Lola, I would like to do a little Abhinaya and show in my concept how she would have rolled her eyes. Lola Netra, Parnashala Kavata Sambandha Murti. In the Parnashala, what did Shurpanakha do? She appeared, and then there was the doorway. She stood at the doorway and clung to the Kavata or doorway. Rama and Sita were inside. And at the doorway, the entrance, she stood and she gazed at what was inside, who was inside. So Lakshmana, who is always standing guard, says, Lola Netra. I will just do a couple of Lola Netras. So Shurpanakha saw Rama. We do the Drishti Vedas in dance. isn't it? Sama, Pulokita, and so on. So here, this would be Lola Netra technically, but the application here is she has seen somebody, so she went and stood near the doorway. Then another Lola Netra. Looking at her own beauty. Another Lola Netra. Another Lola Netra. Another Lola Netra, she sees Sita too. She sees Lakshmana, another Lola Netra. Lakshmana, fiercely guarding the door, also evokes the rolling of her eyes. And back to Rama, Lola Netra. Not having had enough, Lola Netra. And finally, remembering that she has to be a little shy, Lola Netra. Kavata Sambandha Murti. Now, how she takes advantage of leaning against the door. Kavata Sambandha Murti. Kavata Sambandha Murti. She uses it also to peek. So, different ways she uses the doorway. So, and now, Lakshman says, Shruti. He's trying to size her up, wondering who is this woman. So he says, Idi munikanta kadu, Idi munikanta kadu, Munulevvari kantalu ninta vesapum, Badanu terangerungaru. Now this is the Sandhi. Without Sandhi, Idi munikanta kadu, Munulevvari kantalu, Inta vesapun, Padanu terangerungaru. Idi Swargapuri Sarasi Janetra Kadu. Idi Swargapuri Sarasi Janetra Kadu. Divishadanganal Sirikitodagu Mandigamandu Nilvariyadiyu Manushya Kantayagunattunaledu. Iyadiyu Manushya Kantayagunattunaledu Trapavihinatan. What does this mean? Now, I want to just very quickly tell you about the literary style. This is a Champakmala. It is the Chandas. Idi munikanta kadu munulevvari kantalu ninta vesapum padanu terangerungaridi swargapuri sarasi janetra kadu divishadanganal sirikitodagu mandigamandu nilvariyadiyu manushya kantayagunattunaledu trapavinatan. That is the whole chant. Now, what does it mean? Idi munikanta kadu. She is not a munikanta. Why? He tells the reason. Munulevvari kantalu, no munikanta, inta vesapun padanu terangaru. Nobody is so sharply dressed. Munikantas don't dress sharply. So by implication it means that Shurpanakha was dressed. She had a very sharp look, dramatic look. She wanted to attract attention. The Munikanta would be otherwise very dressed in very subdued clothes. So I want to expand on that. Ide Munikanta kadu. Ide Munikanta kadu. Ide Munikanta kadu. Idi munikanta kadu. Idi munikanta kadu. Idi munikanta kadu. Idi munikanta kadu. Why? Munulevvari kantalu. No woman belongs to a Muni or the Muni's clan. Munulevvari kantalu. Inta vesapun. Vesapu is Vesamu or demeanor. Inta vesapun. 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 So she is wearing all these things and also her demeanor. Inta vesapun. Inta, she has a plan. Inta vesapun. Inta vesapun. She colored herself. Inta vesapun. Idi munikanta gadu. Munulevvari kantalu. Inta vesapun. Padanu terangaru. Yerungaru. Padanu terangu. Yerungaru. Padanu terangu. Yerungaru. She's got this over the top look. And so a Munikanta would not be dressed like this. So she says, Padanu sharp. Padanu terangu yerungaru. Padanu terangu yerungaru. That's one. Second he says, Idi Swargapuri Sarasija Netra Kadu. She is not a Sarasija Netra from Swargapuri. That means he's talking about Apsaras. The 4 Apsaras. She cannot be one of them. By implication, she is very beautiful. But she is certainly not an Apsara. He is working out the logic. Why? Idi Swargapuri Sarasija Netra Kadu Divishadanganal Siriki Todagu Mandigamandu Nilvaru. What does it mean? Divishadanganal, the Anganas who belong to the Devas. Siriki Siri is the Telugu word for Shri or Lakshmi. Siriki Todagu Mandigamandu Nilvaru. Mandigamu means the threshold. The threshold in our culture represents Lakshmi. And an Apsara is a co-born of Lakshmi. When the Amrita Manthanam, when the Samudra was churned, the Apsaras came out along with Lakshmi. And they well recognize that the threshold is the abode of Lakshmi. They would never be insolent to stand and swagger at the threshold. Were she an Apsara, she would never do that. Since she stands there insolently staring at us, she cannot be an Apsara, though she is beautiful. That's what he says. I'm not going to Mandigamu means threshold, but I've just shown that. I'm not expanding the expressions for that. Swargapuri Sarasija Netra Kadu Divishadanganal Siriki Todagu Mandigamandu Nilvaru. And then again he says, Yadiyu Manushya Kanta Yagunattulla Ledu. She does not look like a woman of our kind either. Why? Trapa vihinatan. Trapa means modesty. Trapa vihinatan. She appears to be most immodest. And she does not have her demeanor doesn't have the quality of modesty which normally one associates with women of our kind, the human beings. So how does she have trapa vihinita? Iyadiyu manushya kantaya unatulaledu trapavihinatan. So, if she was a manushya kanta, she would look at a man in a different way. But she is not. Neither is she an Apsara. Who is she? So he would say, Iyadiyu manushya kanta. He looks at Sita. మనుష్యకాంత మనుష్యకాంత మనుష్యకాంతయగునట్టున లేదు కృపా విహీనతన్. అనదర్ వే. కృపా విహీనతన్. Looks at Lakshmana, turns to him. Krapa vinatan. Krapa vinatan. Manushyakanta agunatuna ledu. Krapa vinatan. She walks without the slightest, because in the olden days people would walk with the front of the body slightly lowered, and here she is walking with a swagger. Where does she display any modesty? Says Lakshmana. I am not indulging the luxury of going into 50 variations of each Trapa Vihinita, and this is just not the forum for that, but I would love to one day. Meanwhile, I am not progressing very fast. Holding the doorway with both her arms and drinking in the beauty of Rama with her eyes, with an intoxicated note in her voice, Shurpanakha tried to make sweet and halting conversation with Rama. How does she do that? This is a chandas called Priyambada. Panchamam close, pardon? Okay, I'll just sing it like that because I have to put Madhyam. తొలకరిన్ మొయిలు తూగుచున్నదో, తొలకరిన్ మొయిలు తూగుచున్నదో, అలసతన్ నెమలియాడుచున్నదో, సొలయ కంజివురు చూచుచున్నదో, అలరు వింటి దొరవౌదువాముని, సొలయ కంజివురు చూచుచున్నదో, alaru vinti doravauduvaamuni. What does it mean? The chandas, I have sung it as suited to dance, giving matras, gap, but the chandas is tolakarin moilu tooguchunnadu, alasadannemali aaduchunnadu, solaya kanjivuru chuchuchunnadu, alaru vinti doravauduvaamuni. That is the chandas. What does the first line mean? Tolakarin moilu. Now Surpanakha is asking Ram. Tolakarin moyilu tooguchunnado. Tolakari means the first drops of, the first appearance of rain, which is very, very tender, which very, very pleasant and acceptable, before it becomes a torrent, before the monsoon has really set in. So that is Tolakari. So she says, is it a cloud laden with the early drops of rain that is hovering in the horizon? She is of course alluding to Rama. Then she says, alasatan nemali aaduchunnado, and therefore intoxicated by that is the nemali, or the peacock, swaying in a languorous fashion, because it is not yet ready to dance. It is simply just spreading its wings out, getting ready for the rain to come in right earnest. So is it that? She is here referring to her growing desire, the desire that's just blossoming in her heart. Solayakan jivuru chuchuchunnadu. Chiguru is the sprouts, the newly sprouted grass. So instead of being fainting with the impact of this beauty, instead the grass shoots are actually springing up and admiring both the intoxicated peacock as well as the cloud, the early cloud, both. The beauty is making them very curious. So they are standing upright, the sprouts. Again, she is talking about the horripilation on her body. Solayakan jivuru chuchuchunnado. She begins to horripilate, and she is talking about that. Alaru vinti doravauduvaamuni, and are you Manmatha himself? She says. So, I will not dance to this. నేరేటి పండ్లెరుపు నీలి పగుళ్ళ రంగై ఔరౌర నీతనువు అందము చిందిపోవున్. నేరేటి పండ్లెరుపు నీలి పగుళ్ళ రంగై ఔరౌర నీతనువు అందము చిందిపోవున్. రారా మనోభవశర ప్రమితాకృతి ప్రావారాంత దేశమున పట్టెద చిందకుండన్. This is a chandas, is Vasanta Tilaka. నేరేటి పండ్లెరుపు నీలి పగుళ్ళ రంగై ఔరౌర నీ తనువు అందము చిందిపోవున్. నేరేటి పండ్లెరుపు నీలి పగుళ్ళ రంగై ఔరౌర నీ తనువు అందము చిందిపోవున్. రారా మనోభవశర ప్రమితాకృతి ప్రావారాంత దేశమున పట్టెద చిందకుండన్. రారా మనోభవశర ప్రమితాకృతి ప్రావారాంత దేశమున పట్టెద చిందకుండన్. That is the chandas. Now this chandas, in this he has put in this beautiful imagery. What does neredi pandlu mean? Jamun fruits. Jamun fruits, the color is a sort of a bluish black. But when they ripen, they become reddish in hue. And then they become still ripe, they become almost completely indigo blue. So she talks about, do I see a bunch of jamun flowers that are just about to ripen? Are they splitting asunder? As they split asunder, let me catch them before they fall to the ground and spill their juice. Let me catch them in the pravara antadeshamu. Pravaramu is the upper cloth. Pravara antadeshamu is the end of my upper cloth. That is the pallav. So she says, do I perceive the ripe jamun fruits? And as they split, their juice drips out. Before they fall to the ground, fully ripe, let me catch these fruits in my pallu. Now here is the allusion to her desire. She talks about the beauty of Rama in terms of the color of ripe jamun fruits. And she says, before it is wasted, before such beauty is wasted, let me protect it. Also, now you see, I'm only choosing Shurpanakha's verses. Obviously, there are many verses in between where she's evoking response from either Lakshmana or Ram. I'm skipping that. And trying to show in how many ways she tries to win over Ram, because Viswanatha Satyanarayana, Shurpanakha is not really, a demonic character in that sense until the transformation. She's forced to transform herself virtually, and I'm leading there. And then she sympathizes with Rama and says, Nali nooneleni talanara cheeralun తెలియంగనీయడ అదేమి అందమో ఎలగోలు మూక మునులెంత మందిలేరిలలోన వారలకు నీవు రాజవో నలి నూనె. దిస్ ఇస్ మంజు భాషిని. నలి నూనె లేని తలనార చీరలు తెలియంగనీయడ అదేమి అందమో ఎలగోలు మూక మునులెంత మందిలేరిలలోన వారలకు నీవు రాజవో. What does it mean? You haven't got your hair groomed with the application of oil. Nobody has oiled your hair is all matted. Nara chiralu, you're wearing clothes made out of banana bark. Nara chiralu. Teliyanga. But then in your case, none of this matters. Adi emi andamo. What kind of handsomeness is that, I wonder? So she says, Nali noonele nitala nara chiralun. Nali noonele nitala nara chiralun. Teliyanganiyada. To her it appears as if he has got a beautifully groomed shikha and that he is wearing royal robes, silken robes. So she says, Teliyanganiyada ademi andamo. Teliyanganiyada ademi andamo. Teliyanganiyada ademi andamo. And then she says, Yelagolu Muka Munul entamandi leru. Yelagolu is the front ranks of the army, the foot soldiers. So she compares to other munis to his foot soldiers. She says, Yelagolu Muka Munulu entamandi leru. ఎలగోలు మూక మునులు ఎంతమంది లేరు. All the munis are leading his way. ఎలగోలు మూక మునులు ఎంతమంది లేరు, ఇలలోన వారలకు నీవు రాజవో. ఎలగోలు మూక మునులు